All right, today we're going to tear down a system that honestly runs a huge chunk of the global insurance industry, Guidewire PolicyCenter. Now, this is an incredibly complex piece of software, so we're going to break it down piece by piece and really see what makes it tick and why it's designed the way it is.
So, first things first, let's just appreciate the sheer scale of the problem this software is built to solve. I mean, picture a massive global insurance company. They are juggling millions, and I mean millions of policies. Cars, homes, businesses, you name it. And every single one is its own unique contract with its own rules, its own customer data, and all these complicated regulations that can change from one state to the next. Just managing that scale and complexity, that's the core challenge PolicyCenter was built for.
So what is it exactly? Well, at its heart, PolicyCenter is pretty much the central nervous system for an insurer. It's not just some big database for storing stuff, it's a complete platform that handles the entire life of a policy. From the second a customer asks for a quote, all the way through every renewal, every little change, for years and years down the line.
Okay, so to really get how PolicyCenter works, we have to start at the very foundation, its data model. Think of this as the architectural blueprint for the entire system. It dictates how every single piece of information, from a person's name to a car's VIN number, is structured and how it all connects together. And the most fundamental building block in this whole blueprint is something they call an entity. An entity is basically just a container for a specific type of information, like a person, a policy, or a car. It's the official name the system uses to find and work with that chunk of data, no matter where it's needed.
Now, that's the official technical definition, right? But I love this quote from a developer who just cut right through the jargon. They put it perfectly. The entity is simply where we are going to store all those values. That's it. It's the thing in the database that holds all the info for a person or their car. Simple as that.
But here's where the design gets really smart. Not all data is treated the same. PolicyCenter uses different types of entities for different jobs. You've got versionable entities, which track every single change with a version number, super important for policy terms. Then there are retirable entities, like customer records, which can't be deleted for legal reasons, but can be tucked away as inactive. And finally, temporary entities, which are created for a split second to do a job, like calculate a quote, and then poof, they're gone. This really shows you how purpose-built this system is for the serious business of insurance.
So, if the data model is the blueprint, the bones of the building, then the business rules, well, that's the brains. This is the electrical system, the plumbing, the security system, all rolled into one. It dictates how the system actually behaves, and this is where things get really intelligent. The core of all this logic is the rule. Every complex business decision you can imagine in PolicyCenter is broken down into a whole series of these simple but incredibly powerful if-then statements. If a certain set of conditions is met, then the system is told to take a very specific action. Check this out. Here's a perfect real-world example. This rule checks if a contact's home phone number is empty. If it is, then it triggers an action to reject that part of the form and pop up an error message. It's so simple, right? But now imagine thousands of these rules all working together. That's how the system enforces really complex logic, like figuring out who's eligible for a policy or even flagging potential fraud. Now, these individual rules don't just float around on their own. Nope, they're grouped into what are called rule sets. You can think of these like playbooks for specific processes. There's one for new applications, another for renewals, and so on. And this organization is absolutely key because it means that business experts, not just programmers, can actually get in there and help define and manage the company's core logic.
So, you might be wondering, how is all this custom logic actually written? Well, for maximum flexibility, Guidewire didn't just grab a language off the shelf. They went and created their own specialized programming language called Gosu.
For any developers watching, the easiest way to wrap your head around Gosu is to think of it like Java's highly specialized cousin. They share a lot of the same DNA, right? They're both statically typed, which means they're very strict about data, and they both run on the Java virtual machine. But where Java is a jack of all trades, Gosu is designed from the ground up specifically for insurance, with all these built-in shortcuts to make common industry tasks way, way simpler. And right here, you can see why they bothered to build it. Gosu has some seriously powerful, streamlined features. For instance, null safe calls are a huge deal in insurance, where customer data can be missing all the time. This little question mark here prevents the whole application from crashing if it tries to work with empty information. It also handles XML, a common data format, like it's nothing.
And maybe coolest of all, it lets developers add new functionality to existing code without even touching the original files. That is a massive advantage for maintaining a system this big.
Of course, a beast of a system like this doesn't live in a bubble, right? It's got to connect with real people, underwriters, agents, and with dozens of other systems for things like billing and claims. So let's take a look at how it handles its user interface and integrations. So the user interface you actually see in PolicyCenter, it's not hard-coded in the way you might think. Instead, every single screen is defined by these special XML files called PCFs. That's Page Configuration Format. And what that means is the entire user experience can be heavily customized to match an insurer's unique workflow, all without having to rewrite the core application. It's like building with Legos.
And getting data in and out of the system, well, that's just as flexible. The integration layer is this really sophisticated mix of modern web services, customizable plugins, and super robust messaging queues. This is what allows PolicyCenter to talk to literally everything, from a decades-old billing system to a brand-new, shiny cloud platform.
And here's a really crucial part of the puzzle, ensuring reliability. When it sends data, it doesn't just, fire and forget. It uses this asynchronous flow. PolicyCenter sends a message, and then it waits. It waits for the other system to send back an ACK, an acknowledgement, confirming, yep, I got it. Only after it gets that confirmation does it send the next message. This guarantees that nothing gets lost and everything is processed in exactly the right order.
Okay, so we've looked at the data blueprint, the logical brains, the custom language, the configurable UI, and the rock-solid integrations. Which brings us to the million-dollar question. Why on earth does it need to be this complex?
Let's just put all those pieces back together for a second. You have the data model, which is that flexible blueprint. You have the rules engine, serving as the brains of the operation. You've got GoSu, the specialized language for custom jobs. You've got the PCF files for a configurable UI. And you have the integrations, which act as the connectors to everything else. Each of these is a pillar, and each one is designed for maximum power and flexibility.
And this right here, this is the key takeaway. This is not complexity for complexity's sake. This modular layered design is precisely what makes PolicyCenter so incredibly powerful. It's what allows a single platform to be twisted, shaped, and configured to handle basically any insurance product for any company, anywhere in the world. The complexity is the feature.
Which leaves us with one final thought to chew on. In today's tech world, which is moving more and more towards small, nimble apps and microservices, is there still a place for these massive, all-in-one Goliaths like PolicyCenter? It's a fascinating question, and one that really makes you think about the future of enterprise software. Thanks for joining us.